Good evening. Welcome to everybody. Our next installment of old stuff, new stuff, but all the good stuff. Dr. Kelly Kirksick will be presenting all the good stuff. I am Tracy, Director of Customer Success, and I'll have the boring old stuff. So let's flip on to our quick reminder of the quarterly customer feedback. So just a reminder that we continue to send out system messages to all customers quarterly, looking for your feedback and answer to one quick question, right? We're happy to report that feedback is becoming more positive as we continue to make enhancements to the core product. But please tell us in that survey if you like what's coming or what's already arrived, and please keep responding. We are reading it all, I promise. All right, let's talk agenda. So we have a lot to cover, but we are going to be mindful of your time. We know your time is important, and we will stay within the 60 minutes. For that reason, we might not be able to address all of the questions during the webinar. And if appropriate, we may actually opt to schedule a follow-up webinar. We know we can get through what we have, but we don't know how many questions you will have, right? Having so many new things that we can barely fit it into 60 minutes is so exciting and is a great problem that we are excited to have. So we are going to make accommodations to get you information anytime we can. With that being said, I'm going to start with the old stuff. And it's just a reminder, right? This is something that we all know, we all hear about, but most breaches in a small practice or even medium or large practices don't happen from hackers, okay? But they are from accounts and access we should have turned off or monitored. So the advice we're going to talk about on this slide is based on things that we see way too often in customer support. People never believe that an ex-employee or even a current employee would do something destructive. Every customer we have helped clean up a big old mess believed that to be true until they got proven wrong. So just remember, deactivate. The moment an employee leaves, whether it's voluntary or not, deactivate their account in RevolutionEHR. See that little key up there? I'm going to quote Kelly. She was talking to somebody about this. You take the keys back so they can't open the door. If you don't deactivate their account, you've left them with the master key to everything about your practice. So think of it that way. Ex-employees have been known to cause real harm, from deleting schedules to accessing PHI. And quick action prevents malicious or even accidental damage and keeps you compliant with HIPAA's workforce security standards. So we've seen cases where ex-employees who didn't lose their access deleted every encounter template in the system. Imagine coming in the next day and have no way to document patient visits. It's devastating and it's totally preventable. Reset and strengthen passwords for remaining employees, right? When staff turnover happens, reset those passwords for your remaining staff. Even if your office has a no password sharing policy, you can't guarantee that hasn't happened, right? Or that somebody's just using a password everybody in the world knows what their password is. We've seen situations where a former employee used someone else's credentials to cancel every appointment in the schedule and remove every appointment slot. Resetting passwords for remaining staff closes that loophole. Regularly review access logs. So I know this is something not a lot of people are familiar with. They don't go look at it, but there are access logs in the reporting section. Get familiar with those. Make a habit of reviewing them. It's going to help you spot unusual access patterns, late night logins. What are they doing in there at midnight? Why are they looking at all these patient files? Well, your access log is your early warning system. In one case, we had a practice discover that an employee was logging into the system after hours and sharing patient information with their friends because they had some famous people that were patients in their practice. Review user roles and permissions. Another highly overlooked area, and I'm just going to flat out say it sometimes, and I am too, we're just lazy. I'm just going to give everybody access. It's just easier, right? But easier is not secure. So At least quarterly, check that each employee's roles match their job description. Remove permissions they don't need. Too much access creates risk. Limiting access to the minimum necessary keeps your PHI safer and reduces both intentional and accidental mistakes, right? We've seen people with too much access accidentally change all the pricing in inventory or wipe out all the pricing in inventory. Sometimes it's malicious, but sometimes it's just a mistake. Either way, it caused a major disruption. So, finally, use strong password policies. Nobody likes typing passwords. I hate typing passwords, right? And I hate really long ones, but I mean, it's the day and age. We have to do that. At least 12 characters, mix of words and numbers and characters, and encourage staff to use unique passwords for work, not the ones they use personally. Strong passwords just make it harder for outsiders to break in or somebody else to know what Joe Schmo's password is on every account, right? Passwords are still your first line of defense. We recommend requiring long, complex passphrases and unique credentials for every user. We have seen how shared or weak passwords open the door for bad actors. So these are not hypotheticals, right? They are real cases that you see in customer support, and they are just a small sampling of the things that we see. The good news is every one of them could have been prevented. So deactivate accounts immediately, reset passwords, review logins. And after this webinar, if there's only one thing you do to heed everything we've talked about, go check your employees. Make sure that the only employee files that are active are those for true staff. So my boring stuff over. Now I'll turn it over to Kelly for all the fun and talking all about new stuff tonight. So all yours, Kel.
Thank you, Tracy. Hello, everybody. Good evening. So moving on to the new stuff, what I wanted to do, we've got several things, which is exciting to share with you this evening. We're going to pick up kind of where we left off last time and on the last webinar with the rapid review. So as you know, we introduced rapid review. With rapid review came a number of, great requests for enhancements. So I wanted to just kind of give you guys an update where that's concerned, that there are going to be some enhancements that are going to be pushed out to everybody on Friday. And the list things that you will be able to see on Friday will be, we've got some new navigation buttons, which I will show you a screenshot of here in just a moment. The history VAs, that is just really more of how that is being documented. It's just a little bit more reflective to what's really on that screen. I think before it had said pre-testing, and that's not what that is. So we corrected that, so it's just a little bit more true to what it actually is. You can also compare, and I'm going to show you the screenshot. We're not going to do anything live just for sake of time tonight, but this week, one of the pieces of feedback that we had gotten is it would be really nice, depending on, if you're in one of those headers, if you wanted to go to, say, a different encounter and you did that, sometimes it wouldn't stay there. So it became very, very difficult if you're wanting to just quickly compare information from one encounter to another. It's a little bit tricky to do that. That's one of the things that's been that will be pushed out. So you'll now be able to kind of flip through your encounters, and it'll stay on that same. You'll be able to compare, the data fields from one encounter to the next without having to jump around. So I'll show you the screen here real quick. I did just want to say, for those of you that are saying that's it, that is not it. There's a lot more enhancements coming. We've gotten so much fantastic feedback from users regarding the rapid review. It's also been fun to see, a lot of people, it seems like they're very much enjoying it. We've gotten very positive feedback stating that it's enhancing their workflow and their productivity and helping to reduce clicks, which was really kind of the initial objective and how that feature came to fruition. So I'll show you here. Here's a screenshot up there on my screen. I'm a little reluctant to use my mouse because I'm afraid it might click forward, but you'll see the yellow button where it says historical. Those are the navigation buttons that will be added to the right and to the left of that. And then you can see too, if you look underneath Harry Potter's name where it says history VAs, we're making that correction too for that group of data. Okay, I'm going to go on ahead and I wanted to share this too because I think that it's I would be remiss to not take a moment and talk about how enhancements work. So you might be asking, how are these enhancements put ahead of some of the others? And the answer is, a lot of times when we look at what enhancements we're going to do, we try to obviously do the things that we're getting the most feedback on. So if we get a bunch of user requests for something, those are the things that we like to tackle first. Unfortunately, sometimes we can't always do that, just depending on what the development team's working on in conjunction with other projects and whatnot. But I thought this was a really great. I had somebody that had explained to me when they're looking at how we kind of section off enhancements for a release. How do things get chosen, and how does that happen? So if you think of it as some enhancements are big pebbles, some enhancements are small pebbles. When we add them all to the jar, kind of the size of the enhancement really determines how it fits into the roadmap. So if you think about all of those pebbles in a jar, that's really ultimately kind of how things shake out from one release to the next. So if you haven't seen anything, if you're waiting for additional enhancements, just know that more are coming where the rapid review is concerned. I wanted to take a little bit of time too to talk about new tests. One of the things that we're very, very excited about is that we have a new test building tool. If you have submitted requests for a new test because of a new piece of equipment, we have not been able to do that simply because the tool that we use to build those tests needed to be kind of redone. So, and that's all been completed. We now have the tool to build new tests, which is very exciting. And we have some new things that are going to be coming. I had shared this with you guys the last time. I wanted to just put this up again and just share with you progress that's been made on these tests and what you can expect. This is a screenshot actually from the last webinar. I just plugged it into today's. This is a screenshot that I had shown you of the preliminary slit lamp test. There's also, I'm going to go to the next slide to just show you, this was also directly from the last webinar, the preliminary test mock-up for the fundus test. In that call, we had received some great feedback where the users had said, and I'm going to go on ahead and just leave this screen up because I'd like for you all to kind of pay attention. You'll notice that when you look at right eye and left eye, right eye, we have location, additional details, and then the original field documentation for the test, for the fundus test as it exists today. And then for the left eye, we have, again, the existing fields, location, and additional details. And we were struggling. We weren't real sure, is that the appropriate layout or not? And feedback from you all was, no, we would rather have it mirrored kind of like our hands. So the new test design is going to be, and I'll just kind of put this up. We're going to jump around a little bit here on this specific topic anyway. But this is kind of a mock-up that's from one of our servers. This is kind of what things look like before things get pushed into production. So if you're looking at the font and you're like, I don't like that, it's not going to look like this. But I did just want to show you, this is going to be the layout for the fundus test, and the slit lamp test will be the same, where the location fields are going to be on the outside. Next will be additional details, and then the original test fields will be in the middle. Okay, so let's go back. I want to just hop back here and talk a little bit about implementation before we dive into any deeper yet with the tests. So I have been getting questions regarding the tests. People are asking, what will we, what kinds of things, why would I want to use that new test? Will I have my old information? Will I be able to pull forward? So we're going to talk through some of what you can expect. And I'm also going to give you, my reasoning for why I think it will benefit you to go on ahead and switch to these new tests. First and foremost, you will not get your test history. So things are not going to migrate over. It's going to be considered a new test. So you're going to be starting from scratch. So my recommendation would be, when the tests are pushed out and when they're released, And we're looking, just as an FYI, we're thinking that these tests we're hoping might be going out Friday or the early part of next week. So it's going to be very, very soon for you all. When they come out, I would recommend that you go on ahead and position the new tests in the place of where your existing slit lamp and fundus tests are. Keep in mind, they're not going to be the same size. So chances are you're going to have to, readjust and rearrange things based on the difference in size of the new test, because there's obviously more fields in these new tests. But I would recommend that somewhere very, very close to the new test, you go on ahead and put the existing test and plan on leaving it there. Then that way you can still pull forward data from the last time. It will pull into the slit lamp test. And then you can go on ahead if you want. You can then, you can not copy and paste, but you can go on ahead and plug in the appropriate information based on the slit lamp finding. So that would be one way that you could do things. If you're not fond of having both of those tests in there, then ultimately you'll be starting from scratch, and it would just be really no different than if the patient were new. But those are going to be, I think, the scenarios. So if you look at kind of what is the risk reward, obviously, or if you think about, here's the pain. We've told you what you're going to have to do. It's going to be, yes, you're going to have to add the test. You're going to have to resize the test on the screen, and then you're going to be losing your history for that patient initially when they come in. The benefits are that you're going to have so much more flexibility in terms of documentation. With the locations fields and with the additional details fields. Really what we're doing is we're giving you the opportunity. The sky will be the limit in terms of doing auto-diagnosing. You'll be able to do a lot more very, very specific auto-diagnosing now with those additional fields. So for those of you that want to go on ahead and set those up, you certainly can. But more importantly, one of the topics that we're going to talk about is as we look towards, AI scribing and some of the features that we are going to be rolling out, it would behoove you to use those tests, because the scribe will ultimately be able to then, document some of those findings in these new fields for you. So hopefully that will be good motivation to go on ahead and make the switch. And I know that there will be an article that will be published that will walk you through how to do this, kind of what we're recommending for a best practice. And of course, the support team is always here to help you. So if you have any questions, once those tests show up, they'll always feel free you're welcome to reach out. The tests will be, where will you find the tests? I know that's another question. I didn't put that in the bullet, but I will just tell you, they'll be categorized with the existing. So the new slit lamp test is going to be, where the old slit lamp test was, historically speaking. So you'll be able to find that in the fundus test too. Now, if you move those around, we'll make sure that information goes in the article too, so that you know where you can find those tests. Last point too that I will say for anybody doing MIPS, you will want to use the old tests for now, because the new tests, that is one caveat, is that the new tests will not tie into MIPS until likely the new year. So if you're relying on reporting, you are still going to want to continue to use the old tests at this time. Okay, so Tracy, can I keep going? Is there anything pertinent? I'm sure we have questions, but I wanted
Yeah. Yeah.
to.
And I've been busy typing. So
Okay,
one of the questions is about pulling values from the old test. You haven't covered that yet, but you're going to, right? Or did
pulling
you already
value.
talk about it?
Well, I talked about, we really can't, there's not going to be a way,
Yeah.
you're not going to have a historical way to look up the old tests. So the best thing to do would just be, I would encourage you to go on ahead and add that test to your, to your screen, and make sure that those two tests are close to one another. And then you can simply remove that test whenever you feel the time is right. If you're more comfortable, I've had multiple conversations about this with various providers, and everybody's going to have a different taste for, how they want to do this. To me, I think it's going to provide the provider the most visibility to have both tests on the same screen. But I've had some that are like, I don't know that I want to do that. I might just put the old test on a screen all by itself, and then I have it. But then I don't have two of the same tests on the same screen. So there's really no right or wrong. It's personal preference. I would just say, the big thing is make sure that we want you to be aware going into it. And then more importantly, 5 years from now, make sure that I would say, depending on really the kind of patients that you're seeing, if you're more of a well care practice and you're seeing patients typically on an annual basis, chances are you're going to want to have have this workflow set up for you until you start recalling those patients a year from now. For a person that's doing, high volume medical where most of your patients are coming in more frequently, you might be able to only, maybe you only need that additional, that additional old test in there for, 3 to 6 months. So that will be up to the provider to know when the time is right to remove the original test.
And one final just note, because people are wondering, are the old tests going away? And they're not, right? If you like the old test, it will be there forever. No
Yes.
requirements, just enhanced. All right.
Correct.
That covers it.
Yes.
Thanks,
So,
Kelly.
oh, you're welcome. So now I want to spend just a little bit of time because Krista and I, Krista is she's one of the product managers. We spent some time yesterday trying to go through and determine what kind of information needs to go into the multi-selects. So I'm going to show you two screens. We're going to go back and forth. And I'm going to intentionally, maybe even a little bit on the uncomfortable side, Tracy, pause to give everybody a chance to digest these screens because we're going to be asking your opinion. You're going to be voting on some things here in just a few minutes that we need to know prior to us pushing these tests out. So if you look here, the first thing that I want to bring to your attention is on the fundus test, you'll see that we have additional details and locations fields for everything. Okay. To be honest, I don't know that we need location and additional details for fields like arterial or reflex or AV crossings. However, we can easily keep those fields in, and it would be completely acceptable if those fields were included in the test, that you don't have to fill in every single one of these fields once the test is in your environment. You can leave some of these fields blank. The fields that you will need to fill in obviously are the ones right there in the middle, the ones that have always existed in that test. Those are really the required fields for documentation. What you do with the other fields are really up to you. So that's going to be a question that we have that you're going to be voting on tonight, is I'm wanting to know, what is your preference? Would you rather go on ahead and have us leave all of the location and additional details in all of these fields, or should we go on ahead and remove the fields that are likely never going to be used or would be unlikely to be used? I'll give you an example here and I'll show you kind of the difference. If we go to the next screen, I know that the screenshot's a little bit smaller. I'm hoping that you guys can at least see it well enough to understand, but this is just an example where we went on ahead and we removed some of the location and additional details from those fields. So you can kind of get a sense for what that might look like. Okay, I'm going to switch back one more time just so that everybody again can see the difference. So here, what we're talking about, you're going to be voting here in a minute, is leaving additional details and location alone. This way it looks very much the same, okay? Here, we're just simply removing some of those fields where they may not necessarily be needed. So that's question number one. The next question that Krista and I were working on yesterday is adding information to the drop downs. So, we would like to make things as easy as possible for our users in terms of transitioning to this test. What we know is that many of you have modified your list anyway for these tests. And over the years, I have seen people do so many different things and get very, very creative in how they label those drop downs, simply because you didn't have the flexibility you're going to have now. So, things like people would have lens yellowing under the lens category in the slit lamp test that they would choose so that they could go on ahead and have like NS trigger a cataract code, that sort of thing. So you're going to be able to kind of transition to some just a different way of doing things now, if you so choose to, because of these new fields. Our question, really the big question is, some of these fields, we were struggling a little with what to add. Location's pretty straightforward. When you see the things that we're going to default for the location field for both slit lamp and fundus, for the most part, are going to be things that you would use: 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, nasal, temporal, superior, inferior, that sort of thing. Keep in mind, you can always go into the test editor. Anything you don't like, you can take out, you can remove, you can add your own, just like you can now. We're just trying to, at least, set the stage for things that would be likely appreciated and used. The additional details is a little different because everybody does things different. So as we look at this, if you look here to the far right, you'll see these are kind of this would be an example of just a drop down for the vitreous as an example. And you'll see here in this specific drop down, we've got, like, for asteroid hylosis, we've got different grading scales for asteroid hylosis. So we can do one of two things. We can leave this drop down alone. So there's 2 questions you're going to vote on. I've shared with you the first one. This is the second one here in just a minute that we want your opinion on. If you look at this drop down, we can go ahead and leave it as it is. It'll be up to you guys to go in and edit it and then add your additional details, where we would be leaving the additional details section for the most part blank. So when you click on that, there's not going to be anything in there. It's going to be up to you to go on ahead and customize how you want that. Or we can go in and we can kind of change things. And instead of having all of these drop downs that you're seeing here on the right under the main screen, which would be where that multi-select is kind of highlighted blue, is where if you clicked on that in an encounter, you would see that drop down. What we could do is we could go on ahead and just have, like, asteroid hylosis, remove all of the others, and then under additional details, that could be your grading. We could have grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. So you could choose the finding and then assign a grade to it based on additional details. So we can take that approach too and set up the slit lamp the same way. So that is going to be what you're going to be voting on here in a moment. What would you guys prefer? Would you prefer we just leave it alone as it is and you guys will go in and customize it, knowing that you're not going to have anything under additional details? Or is that going to be likely how people are going to be using the additional details section, where they will just be using it as a grading scale? And then we could clean up and really shorten the main drop down significantly, by getting rid of all of those, duplicate, findings for the various ways to grade severity. So that's the 2 questions. Tracy, I'm going to pause for just a minute to see if you have any questions before we launch the poll. Elise, we're going to be ready to do that here in just a moment. But before we do that, Tracy, are there any questions or anything that I need to go back over before we ask for feedback?
I mean, I think people want to know, why we can't pull forward from another test, and the answer is that's not an option. And I'm just reading a response. If you'll remember, final refraction with Prism, we had to do the same thing, right? So a test is a test is a test. Ron, I know you're saying refraction data isn't the same as health, but in the database, it is. So how that works is limited. There is no requirement to use the new test, right? We're trying to put these out there as an option. So other than that, most of it was just around the pull forward. So I think we are ready for the poll, Kelly.
Perfect. Elise, if you'll go ahead.
While we're waiting, Kelly, someone is just asking a little bit
Yeah.
about findings and how many findings can trigger auto diagnoses. So I know we're not tackling auto diagnosing with this particular feature, but it is definitely on your radar and something you'll talk to product about as the pebbles fit into the jar. I'm
Correct.
thinking I'm getting that correct. Okay.
No, there's going to be, like I said, the adding those fields is going to be, I think, really, really helpful, but certainly it's going to expand, the auto diagnosing capabilities for sure, because in the past we've been really limited. If there wasn't a one-to-one match, there just wasn't, I mean, there wasn't much you could do. And now you'll be able to, incorporate some of that into the auto diagnosing, which will be good. And like I said, I think that would probably make a good webinar topic, Tracy, down the road once we get going with it.
Mm-hmm.
The thing
I
too that
think
I'll
so
say
too.
is if you do have any feedback for any tests that you'd like to see, I know red light photo biomodulation is a big one right now, so we have that one. But if there are any others, make sure that you reach out to. I mean, you can send that into customer support, and they can forward it on to me and Krista. But we'd like to know also, because that's again one of those things we can kind of slide those into the jar of pebbles and kind of sprinkle those in through various product
FYI,
releases.
our product team is listening and they're seeing the jar overflow. We're giving them a heart attack, but we're just going to keep throwing pebbles at them. We're
Yeah.
okay. So polls have
Perfect.
been answered. Well, thank you for your answers, and let's keep going because I think people are excited to where you're going next.
Good. Very good. So we're going to keep moving. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the PHR. So one of the things that we do have coming is an enhancement to the PHR. What you're going to see is it's going to have a new look and some new functionality. So I wanted to just kind of go through that with you. If you are subscribing to Rev Payments, you will be able to do payment processing in the PHR. Contact lens ordering will also be something that will be added to the PHR. Messaging options will no longer be limited to just doctors. So patients will be able to choose, a staff member or something to send a message to, and instead of only being the doctor. There's some color branding options and custom logos can be added. So pretty exciting. I've got a few screenshots to show you here in just a moment. We are aiming for the end of 2025, but that is contingent on certification. So that will be coming, like I said, the goal is before the end of the year, if not Q1, but it's all just tied to certification. So wanted to just mention that. So this is kind of what this is what it's going to look like. You can see where the yellow buttons are. It's kind of a yellowy orange color on my screen. That's going to be what you can customize. So you can kind of customize it to whatever your logo color is and make those kind of unique to you. So if you have this tied into your practice, you could, or to your website rather, you can kind of coordinate all the colors. Okay, and then I have one more screenshot just to kind of show you. So this is what the ordering screen would look like in the PHR. So patient can see their prescriptions. If they have more than one, they'll be able to choose. Then they can enter in the quantity or number of boxes with the total and order. What will happen is they will have to pay for the order, and then that is actually going to get pushed over to Revolution, and then even though the order's been paid for, the payment will have to be posted, and that will be obviously something that a staff member would need to do. So if a person would order something, say at this time of night, and the practice is already closed, when your team gets in the next day, they would see this, and then they can go on ahead and approve it. Obviously, if there's any issue, then they can call the patient and make any adjustments or changes needed. But I think this will be a great thing.
Before anybody asks, it will be optional. You can turn it on or turn it off. So
Yes.
Some people will love to use it. Some people don't want to use it. And you'll have your choice.
Right. Yeah. So next thing I wanted to just go through is the AI scribe. So we've talked a little bit about, yes, I want to access. Okay. We've talked a little bit about the AI scribe earlier. We did launch this at Vision Expo. Conceptually, we launched this at Vision Expo West. Was that last week? just in the last few weeks. But wanted to kind of give you, we have just a short video to show you so that you can kind of see what is coming. This is really the start of quite a venture. As we know, AI is really being positioned and just not just in healthcare, but with almost, it seems like every trade or industry globally anymore. So we're kind of finding this is going to be what I say version 1, and there's going to be, I think, a lot of enhancements that will be coming. So um, feedback is definitely appreciated and needed. So one of the things that I didn't go to Vision Expo West, but it was really fun to visit with the product team that were there, and they said, "Wow, it was really impressive." Hearing how some of our customers are already using AI technology in their practice with reporting and workflows. So we are really right now trying to assess all of that and see how we can position AI to work with Revolution and assist you in your practice. So if you have any suggestions or thoughts, make sure you send those in. Again, we are meeting on this topic a lot internally, and so your feedback will definitely be reviewed and taken into consideration. It would be much appreciated. Version 1, what will this look like? It's slated for early access to be opening up in Q1. So it'll be coming very, very soon. You will be able to have some assistance with charting and documentation. So we'll show you in the demo here what that's going to look like, where the AI scribe can take what you're saying and document things into the chart, filling in fields within the encounter. Probably the thing that's going to be most exciting is that this is going to not be something that you're going to have to pay for. It's going to be included as a part of the core product. And early access again is coming right after the first of the year.
This is a concept demo for the upcoming Revolution EHR AI Scribe feature. Because most Rev users use normals or pull forward data to pre-populate their encounters, I'll use normals here. Now, I'll open the AI Scribe. When it turns red, the scribe is recording. Good morning, I'm Dr. Wilson. Let's start your exam. Wearing your contact lenses, you're seeing 20/25 in your right eye and 20/30 in your left eye. You have full range of motion in both eyes, no restrictions. Pressure is 10 in the right eye, 11 in the left eye. The time is 3:12 p.m. Your pupils are equal, round, reactive to light and accommodation. There are no afferent pupillary defects. Visual fields are full to finger counting in both eyes. In your right eye palpebral conjunctiva, it's showing 2+ follicles. Your left eye cornea has an epithelial abrasion. Okay, the exam is finished, so I'm stopping the transcription. The transcription is available now, you can see here, but it takes 10 to 12 seconds to convert that text into test inputs. Now, once this is done, here we go, we'll save to chart. Okay, to make it easy for you to verify the data, Rev highlights only the fields that were changed. If you find any errors, you can fix them before saving.
So that was just kind of a quick, just a kind of an overview of what you can expect. We wanted to kind of show you some of the features and functionality that we're working on with the AI Scribe. So we just had kind of, this is just a screenshot of what that would look like too in the record. You can see that there's a button there where it says AI Scribe. So that's what it would look like from the encounter side of things. The last thing that we wanted to talk to you about that's coming is eligibility. So auto eligibility, where you can do an eligibility check, is something that we've got an anticipated release date scheduled for the end of Q1. So I would look for that. Like I said, probably we're thinking that that's going to be tied in right around the time of Vision Expo. So somewhere, I would say mid-March would be kind of a good guesstimate. This is going to be something we partner with ABB Verify on. So this will be really a white labeled product for Rev. This will be something, there will be per provider pricing, and that has not been determined yet. We're working on that. But the expectation is that it will be less expensive than what ABB Verify is. So that's really, I don't have a ton of details on that other than it is something that's coming, and it's something that you should have access to, by the end of Q1. So that is the extent of the slides, Tracy. We hit the mark in terms of, I was hoping to be done at 7:45, so we had 15 minutes for Q&A. We have done that. So at this point, we'll just open up the floor to questions. So Tracy, I will let you go on ahead and get started.
Absolutely. That was impressive. I am impressed. So a question that's come in a couple of times, and I am super happy to answer this one, Kelly, is there going to be a fee for the new PHR? Oh. The answer is no. The PHR that you have right now is part of your core product. The new PHR will simply replace the old one. You won't have to issue new logins, and it'll be pretty seamless, but there's no additional fee for the PHR. For the AI scribing, because our demo had all the tests on one screen, somebody's asking, will all our tests have to be on one screen? But I believe, Kelly, the answer to that is no. We just did that for the demo. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know if Ryan is listening in, and Ryan, you can message me on the side. Somebody's asking, how do we sign up for the early group for the AI scribe?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
So I can see Kimberly Boyer on there asking, Kimberly, I've just added you to my list, whether you like it or not. Yeah, I just put you on my list, and then when we get closer to doing beta, I'll reach out. You want to be on the list?
She can always tell you no when you call her. We'll just keep adding people. They can always say no.
Yep.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. So will the AI scribe be, Kimberly says yes. Sorry, that scrolled my questions down. Will the AI scribing be available so technicians can use it for chief complaint and other relevant history portions? Or is it just the physical examination? I don't know the answer to that one.
So Ryan, I'm going to let you, I think you're probably the best equipped to answer that question.
Right. So we're not putting any restrictions on that. We expect that the technicians will get great value from this, as well as the ODs. And so it will go through the history screens as well as the tests.
Cool. There'll probably be some maybe keyword they'll have to use, like patient reason for visit. So it'll populate, I would assume, but we'll it'll build as we go along. So somebody's wondering is the AI transcribe still available after you click on the data to look at it? Like once you stop your transcription and review it, can you start it back up again?
So so the way that we're thinking about this, and mind you, we're still building right now and designing and so on. But if you think about a technician, for example, a technician does a session with the parts that pertain to them. They speak, then they stop it, they review it and save it. And then the OD comes in, gets the patient handoff, does the same thing. They open the transcription for their own session, and they review and save that, right? So if you're asking if the same user could do 2 sessions, the answer is yes. They start the session, they save it. There's nothing stopping them from reopening the scribe and continuing. If I answered that.
No, you are good. I am laughing because somebody said, "Is Ryan AI?" That was funny.
Ryan, you want to take a minute? We didn't actually introduce you. We had you here for this reason.
Sorry.
So
I probably met at least 10 of the people in this audience at Expo West, and the reason I sound like AI is because I've answered that question about 15 times already. I've got it down pat. I am the senior product manager for Revolution EHR. My colleague Krista Renner is the other senior PM. on our team, and so kind of our baby.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Ryan, are you able, there's more people saying I want to be on the beta. Are you seeing their names and
I
grabbing
am.
them?
I'm
Okay,
there on the list.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. I just want to make sure.
Sure.
So, oh, hey, a non-AI, the auto eligibility, will it pull medical? And will it pull all the benefits of the policy?
So that one is still early days, but we know that we intend to have both vision and medical, but it will probably be first vision and then layer on medical afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll know more when that offering is actually
yeah, it's
fully vetted
intended
out.
to be a comprehensive eligibility solution, not just a partial.
Perfect. I'm scrolling. If I'm sounding quiet, I'm just making sure. It's going to freak me out if we end early. I don't know that we've ever done that in the history of any webinar. I do have it's a good suggestion from somebody that I'm going to throw out here just so I remember it is, when the new PHR comes, people are always struggling to get patients to adopt, right? Or even to get staff just to give out those logins. So I know our plan is to probably host a webinar when the PHR is ready. So I think that would be actually a good topic for us to cover too, is patient and staff adoption. So somebody's asking if we can send a link to this presentation to share with other staff members. I believe at the conclusion or within a day or two, that will automatically go to the attendee list, right?
I believe so, Tracy. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay. Lots of beta requests. That is wonderful. People are asking about, are there plans for enhancements to different features, and obviously that list is very, very long, and we are doing our best to prioritize. I know somebody made the comment, well, what about everything we've asked for? But I'm going to tell you, PHR has been sitting in this list for many years. So while I know it feels like, gosh, I've asked for this and I've asked for that, we are doing everything we can to prioritize those. And like Kelly said, there's some big rocks, like PHR, and then we will fill in whatever we can with the small rocks.
Hey, Ryan, I wanted, while we have you on here, I was going to see, can you shed any light at all on, what's coming past what we're releasing this Friday for rapid review?
Oh, you mean what additional rapid review enhancements are coming?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, of course. Let me, just so I
I
don't.
know I'm putting you on the spot, but I just thought, I know that there was a lot more on the list than what's being pushed out Friday, and I know we're working on more stuff. So I just.
Oh yeah, no worries. We're going to in the hover. So in the care plan description, when you have text care plans in the rapid review, you can hover on one, and you'll be able. You already can see the text, but it will be able to include new lines. So if you had returns. So let's say you had bullet points, it will show them instead of just being one text blob. That's one. Another one is that the way that acuities and modifiers are displayed in the test recap tab is going to be cleaner and easier to follow. It's a little bit messy and just counterintuitive. We're also going to divide up the test and test recap into 3 columns. One column is going to be all the refractive tests, one column will be all the medical, and then the third will be kind of miscellaneous. And that's intended to make it easier to find the test that you're looking for, even if you're using different exam or different encounter templates. It just be easier. The way it is now is we just kind of do it in order from left to right and down the page. That's how we display those tests. So it's going to get easier to find the test that you want to look at.
I know
When-
that's been a big request that the practices that I've talked to, and I think that I'm glad to hear that. Because it is kind of messy when you're looking at that screen. Sometimes it's hard to see, to know where to look for things. So that'll be great to have that stuff
Uh,
better organized.
There were two other requests that we're working on right now, which one is if you have an encounter that's not started yet, let's say you're a doctor who wants to get ready in the morning for all the patients coming in, the rapid review. So on the home screen, you have a list of appointments for today. You'll have a rapid review button there. And so you can push it and look at, say, the last encounter they had before today and quickly review those. That was a new use case we didn't anticipate that people wanted to be able to do. And also we'll have a rapid review button on the patient summary screen, right on the dashboard there. And if you push the button, it'll just open up the most recent encounter that that patient has.
Exciting. Awesome. Thank you. I didn't
Sure.
mean to put you on the spot, but I appreciate it. I know the audience does too.
Well, I was able to respond quickly because I'm AI.
Tracy, is there anything else? Any other final questions?
Well, I'm going to put Ryan on the spot one more time, but I think it might be a Krista question, so I will ask as well. But do you know, Ryan, so right now in the PHR, a new patient who has the right link through the website of the office can actually book an appointment and it will create a new patient file in Rev. But customers have issues with patients that don't pay attention and just create they create another one, right? And then they end up having to merge patients. And do you know if we are looking at like duplicate alerts or anything like that?
Mhm.
Oh, actually, Julie says we already have alerts. But it doesn't stop them. I don't know what else to do. That's funny.
Did I hear you say new
I'll have
patients
to
or
think about
existing?
that. It's existing patients who already have a PHR login, but they book an appointment and they create a new one, like a new patient would.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, well, that's an interesting one that we already have the alert. So, Julie, I'll bring it up to Krista and we'll look at other options for that. Other than that, Kelly, we are another beta. We have gotten through our questions. We have 2 minutes left.
Great.
And I think we can wrap up at this point.
Incredible.
Perfect.
Yeah, very nice.
Thanks, guys. Like I said, look for some new stuff on the release coming on Friday. So thanks so much for your input, everybody. Have a great evening. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.